Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Stories. And Stories is all about sharing successful stories of people around the world. Today I have Mr. Bobby Dsouza from Bombay live with me. Mr. Bobby, welcome to the show.
It is a pleasure, Jason. Thank you for inviting me to the show. I look forward to bringing great value and having a wonderful conversation.
Amazing. Bobby, before starting the show, how are you today?
I'm well. It is 3 p.m. in the afternoon in Mumbai. The weather is relatively getting hotter. We had a surprising winter, which was more colder compared to normal. But now I think it's getting a winter. It's a busy afternoon, and I'm glad that I was able to take out some time to have a conversation.
Fantastic. Bobby, before going into the show, I was happy to see you as a motivational speaker, as a musical inspirational speaker and author, because your LinkedIn profile was there about it. So I'm curious about what is your current background, because I'm not about sure about what is a musical inspirational speaker. So would you like to elaborate about your background, your associations currently, so the audience will be familiar with?
Absolutely. So what do I do currently? I'm in the business of inspiring people, helping people to accelerate their performance. Basically, I help people to identify what potential they have. And if there is a lot of dust around that potential, my goal is basically to just help them rediscover who they are, help them to build resilience, help them to build a successful mindset and consistently grow, whether people are leaders in the organization, whether they are corporate employees or even professionals or self-employed. That's what I do. Because of COVID-19, I'm doing a lot of virtual keynotes and masterclasses. Virtual keynotes are, like a full-fledged 90 minutes of a keynote session that can happen online, or I am also doing sessions face-to-face, motivational sessions face-to-face. Now, coming back to the musical part of it, I play electronic drums, which is called as Roland hand sonic, and I also play the African djembe, the drums.
Okay.
So what I do is I create music, and when I create music, it basically just mesmerizes people, because in a way, whether it's India or globally, people love music.
Exactly.
Everywhere around the world. Sometimes a lot of messages can become cliche, or they would be something that people already heard it before. Okay, I already know this before. So sometimes in order to make the message very engaging, what I do is I will play the music for the people. They get astonished by the music, and then I'll say, okay, can you create music? And the first reaction of people is, oh, come on, give me a break. You're a performer. I am not. And that's where I help people to break their limits. And within a period of a few minutes, all of them are creating music just with their hands, with their fingers, with their bodies, and suddenly realizing that they can also create music.
Yeah.
So in case you can create music in 30 minutes, how much more can you break limits in different aspects of their life, whether it is career, whether it is your goals that you want to achieve, your dreams, your aspiration, your relationship. In every area of life, all of us can break limits, and we all deserve to live a great life.
Fantastic.
And that's what I'm about.
That's a different strategy altogether. And I was again inspired or astonished by the figures. Like you have engaged with over 200,000 people online, and that's a very big number, which is actually relatively very high. So would you like to share your thoughts on this? How did you engage with such a huge number of people?
So, when I became a motivational speaker, one of the things that I realized was a lot of audiences will be face-to-face, in person. So
Yes.
Currently in person, I have inspired in live face-to-face events. I've inspired 29,030 people who have attended my live sessions.
Okay.
But I also realized that there's a huge chunk of audience who I may or may not meet ever.
Correct.
So when I was going through my Quora yesterday, I realized that I reached 2,08,000 people as of yesterday. Today is 2,09,000 just on Quora by answering questions. Similarly, whether I'm on Spotify, whether I'm on YouTube, whether there is a podcast, whether there are webinars that I do, it has been attended and it has engaged so many people over the years. A lot of them I may never meet, but where possibly I cannot reach, online is helpful. So it was a very strategic thing, basically to ensure that digitally also we are able to reach so many people and possibly make a difference in people's life.
Fantastic.
That's the goal.
Yeah, you are into all these things, you're into different engagements. There must be some success strategy or a success statement attached to all these things. What is that passion driven statement? Would you like to share with us today?
So I have a couple of things that I have. I've realized over the years that there is no one success strategy that can work for everybody, right?
Yeah.
For everybody, it is tailor fit. However, I've also realized that the principles still remain the same.
True.
So, for example, one of the things that worked for me over the years, see, I am the author of a book called as Fallen to Rise, which is my true story of somebody, who was really at the lows of his life when I was a teenager, completely washed out, confused, did not know what to do, to today somebody who's inspired thousands of people. And I was just introspecting and asking myself, what's really worked for me? Mm-hmm. And one thing that has really worked for me is I always operate out of resourcefulness.
Yeah.
Now, what is resourcefulness? Resourcefulness is the ability to say, what is the best I can do with whatever I have right now? Cool. Yeah. For example, if somebody is looking for a career opportunity right now and he cannot find an opportunity, somebody could be just cribbing and saying, oh, I'm not getting opportunity. There are no options available. But the question that I would have for that person is, what is the best that you can do today to create a great impact? You might not get an opportunity today, but what if you could get it tomorrow because of the seeds that you sowed today?
Exactly. Yeah.
So what is the best you can do with whatever you have? If you have $1,000, what could you do with that? If you have 500, what could you do with that? If you have 100 rupees, what could you do with that? That's the question. And one example that I have for this is, as a motivational speaker, I do a lot of keynote speeches. And one of the clients I did a keynote was a client called Kongsberg, a global client. And we were supposed to do this musical keynote, and I was supposed to play the drums. And in the background, there was a track music that was supposed to play. And I was supposed to accompany that music. So I was supposed to play the music, and the sound system guy the coordinator was supposed to play the music. Unfortunately, the speakers did not work for him.
Oh my God.
Now just imagine you have 120 audience all standing in front of you. I have already created huge hopes saying that, I'm going to play the drums for you. People are all excited saying, oh my God, what is he going to do? Yeah. And then I'm about to play and I realize that the sound system isn't working for him. Okay. Now that very moment of time, the thought that came to my mind is, Bobby, that person is not going to support you. The sound system is not supporting you. You're on your own.
Correct.
And I asked myself, Bob, where do you want to operate from? Do you want to operate out of helplessness, or do you want to operate out of resourcefulness? And I'm glad I decided to play out of resourcefulness. I said, I have my hands, I have my mind, and I can play the music. And I just started playing the music. And slowly, steadily, I saw that people forgot about the mishaps of the drums. And later people were singing those songs that we created, music that we created for them. People had a great experience. And the error that happened, people had forgotten. It is a lot about a battle within our own minds.
It's a mindset, yeah.
I want to always operate out of resourcefulness.
Yeah.
And the second strategy that's really worked for me is focus on what you can control rather than a million things that you cannot.
Yeah.
And I say, though as a keynote speaker, as an author, consistently I'm teaching this, but I also realize this can sometimes be such a struggle for me and for a lot of people. Is, at this point of time, there could be people who are struggling financially. I could be thinking of business. I could be thinking of that. You could be thinking of something else. And we are worrying about so many things. But the honest truth is, half of the fears that we have are basically imagination, which never even happen. They are just imagination that end with imagination. I personally believe it's important to just ditch that fear, focus on what you can control, and operate out of resourcefulness.
Correct. I think coming out of that fear zone is the first step for winning the battle, I think.
That's right. And in fact, I was doing an interview recently, and in that I was also saying, and I'm repeating it, is, when there is no enemy within your mind, the outside enemy and worries will not bother you so much. Yeah. But if you have an inner battle only within yourself, wherein you're so worried about everything, then anytime anybody says something, you're going to get frustrated. Your wife says something, you'll get frustrated. You have a admission fee to pay, you'll get worried. You have a tax to pay, you get worried. But if you're sorted out inside, then I think you can handle everything outside in a more calmer manner. And I think during this chaotic time, I think the first thing that we really need to do is just manage our fear and worries internally in a very responsive, calmer manner.
Exactly. So when we talk about managing fears and managing your success, we can't ignore that obstacles or that hurdles which you have encountered in your life. So obviously there would be
That's
some stones which you had to thrash and start the journey. So would you like to elaborate on this things?
all right. So, while you had asked me about this interview, one of the thoughts that I was thinking is, one of the principles that I've learned over the years is rejections are never final. Whether a customer rejects you, whether people reject you, whether you are rejected in an interview, whether somebody rejects you or situation rejects you, they're never final. And this is one of my realities. When I initially started off as a speaker, as a trainer, my brand was not that developed. I was just starting off. And when you're just starting off, a lot of people do not know you. So when you give them a call, they do not pick up your call. They don't respond to your mail. They ignore your conversations. They don't treat you with a lot of respect. So around 5, 7, 8 years back, when I tried calling people or trying to meet people and I tried to fix appointment with them on LinkedIn or anywhere else, many times I faced a lot of rejection. Many times when I wanted to speak at events, I faced rejection. I remember when I was in my credit card, I used to, long time back, 18 years back, I used to work for a channel partner of SBI credit card. And I remember that I was doing cold calling, selling door to door, house to house. So I was doing a B2B selling credit cards. And I went outside the World Trade Center at Ballard Estate, near Churchgate. And I'm outside that building and you have this 30 plus floor building. And for me, that was astonishing to see such a big building that amount of time. And when I saw the building, I said, okay, I need to do a cold call and enter into the complex. But before I entered, the security stopped me and said, where do you want to go? I said, I want to do cold calls. He said, excuse me, get out. And I moved out. And then when I went outside of the gate, and it felt very embarrassing. And I told myself, one day I will enter this place. I don't know how. Many years down later, when I became a keynote speaker, motivational speaker, and I started inspiring people, the same place where I was rejected at, that same building on the 5th floor or 4th floor, whichever floor, I don't remember, I did one of my first sessions for IDBI Bank in the same building. Amazing. And I did a session for the assistant managers and senior managers over there. And when I stood on that floor, and I know that when I stood and there was this window, there's this large window, and outside the window, there is just sea. And when I looked out at the sea, and I told myself, Bob, how much has changed? And then I realized that rejection is not final. And this is just one of the stories. There are so many times that I tried approaching somebody 6 years back, 7 years back. They never paid attention, never answered my call. Even on WhatsApp, there was a blue tick, but they never replied back. And 5 years down the line, 4 years down the line, 3 years down the line, they reach back and say, can we invite you? Places where I've been rejected, quite a number of those places I've been able to enter. And rejection is never final. And I think the greatest lesson that I've learned over there is when you're in this stage of uncertainty, when you're in this stage wherein you haven't got the answer to whatever you really want, for example, it's a job, it's a career, it's a dream, it's a business goal, whether it's an investor, you want the funding, but you aren't getting it. In between that time when you aren't getting the answer, what do you do with your life? What do you do with your day? That determines whether you'll be successful or be rejected in the future as well. And I'm glad to say that from the time I was rejected till now, consistently, I have been sowing the seed of building the brand with my team, of course, consistently building the brand, consistently putting effort, never doubting my worth, just because somebody rejected you, and kept moving forward, and slowly doors opens.
Amazing. There is so much positivity. Yeah, there is so much positivity and inspiration flowing from that video to here in UAE. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for conveying your life experiences and the interview, because rejection is something which we are encountering daily on a daily basis here in the UAE and whichever part of the world also, because there are a lot of job losses, there are a lot of demotivated people, souls out there. So would you like to share some 2 to 3 critical advices for the younger generation before closing the show?
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm very, very passionate, working with the youth, and till now I've worked with, I think, more than 7,000 students, across the country doing live keynotes and seminar. I'm very passionate about the youth. And one thing that I've observed, because I've coached a lot of youth as well, and I've spent a lot of time with them, is my first advice for them would be, don't let temporary friends influence your permanent career decisions.
Okay.
Do not let your temporary friends influence your permanent career decision. Think wisely. One of the trends that I've observed when I've gone to campuses and colleges, a lot of time, what happens is, because you have this group of friends who spend time with you and they're having this chai and sutta, or they just want to enjoy some time with you, that moment of time, they say, okay, let us do BMS. You listen to them and then you also want to do BMS. Or somebody says, oh, let's do MBA. Why? God knows, he's doing MBA. Okay, I also want to join and do MBA. Oh, he's doing engineering. I also do engineering. Why? Because of my friend. I don't want to be left alone.
Yeah.
And people make decisions emotionally, think that, those friends will be with them forever. But the honest truth I've realized over the years is, as soon as that hostel life gets over, as soon as that college life gets over, 98% of those friends will not ever reach you. Even 6 months, even once in 6 months, they will not reach out to you, or even a year. So they'll be friends for that moment. And a lot of youth make decisions, depending on that. So don't let temporary friends influence your career decision. Think wisely. Speak to professionals on LinkedIn. Connect with people on LinkedIn. Find mentors on LinkedIn or other places. Find people who know better than you rather than just your friends who are as lost as you.
Yeah, true.
That's right. That's my one suggestion. My second suggestion, which I think I've also learned the hard way, is don't just focus on just getting a qualification. A qualification and a degree without a skill is nothing really. Today, during COVID-19, people who have worked for some of the largest organizations, I know of organization wherein senior managers who worked for 30 years have been told that either you take a 35% pay cut or you resign tomorrow.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? There are people from top banks that I've inspired and done session with, and I dropped a WhatsApp message to a girl and asked her, how are you doing? She writes, I'm one of the senior managers. Yesterday, my manager dropped me a WhatsApp message and said, can you put down your papers? Why?
No.
We don't need you anymore. That's the reality. And the only thing that can make people survive is, number one, it is very important to get qualification. It's very important to get a degree. That's the start. But after that, and along with that, I think consistently building in-demand skills that can help people, consistently, find opportunities. Today, you don't have to only do a job. People can start businesses. People can, work on freelancer.com and earn thousands of dollars and rupees just by using a laptop, a mobile, and a phone. That's it.
Yeah.
In-demand skills, I think, is very, very important. And finally, I also seen the other part. There is a group of students that I met who, get too worried about their future. What will I do in the future? What will I do in the future? And there is this group of people who are very focused on, I want to live in the moment. I want to be mast maula. I want to enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
I personally think that, it is very important to plan your future, but at the same time, learn to live in the moment by enjoying it today as well. Yeah. Don't be on either extreme. Either only you're planning for the future, not living in the moment, or just living in the moment, not planning the future. So these are 3 suggestions that I have.
Fantastic. When you were talking about skills and that in-demand skills, I suddenly remembered Elon Musk saying about the college, going to college, and the mandatory practice of educational systems should be replaced by inherent talents and inherent skills, which is to be identified in the people out there. So I think this is a great inspirational session from your side. Positivity is flowing from out there. Thank you so much for sharing your life experiences, and this is going to make a game-changing factor for all the lives of people who are actually watching this. And thank you so much for joining in from Mumbai. And before closing the show, if somebody wants to connect with you, would you like to drop in some message, or what are the channels people can approach you?
Absolutely. So number one, a lot of people ask me, Bob, you've achieved something, and there are so many lessons that you've learned. But I did not learn so many lessons, in that spur of the moment when I was going through my own experiences and challenges. So if people want to just really know about how did I practically come out of whatever I came about in all my life situations. So I have a book which is actually my true story. Fallen to Rise is actually my autobiography of somebody who was once a construction laborer on the streets of Mumbai to today inspiring thousands of people. So this book is available, by the way, on Amazon, and people can just pick a copy of it very easily, and the links will be shared. Along with that, if people want to connect with me and they want to invite me to a campus or to a corporate or just for an event where they want me to come and inspire the people or leaders, then they can just write me an email at contact@bobbydesouza.com or go to www.bobbydesouza.com. And last but not the least, in case people want to be consistently inspired with the content that I share, you can just go to Spotify, just search for Bobby Dsouza, or go to YouTube.
Amazing.
But at the same time, Jason, it was a pleasure having a conversation, and glad to bring value to your audiences.
Thank you so much.